Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Tami from Acclaimed.
And I'm Kevin from Acclaimed. Heating, cooling,
and furnace cleaning.
Yay!
And we meet for a weekly Facebook Live, and we do the Dear Keven Letter, which tackles a conundrum a homeowner is experiencing. And this one is signed from Double Trouble.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I want to. Okay.
All right, ready for
Let's do it? Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's not. Yeah, okay, here we go. Dear Kevin.
Okay.
I currently have 2 furnaces in my home, one that controls the upstairs and one that controls the downstairs temperatures. They are getting quite old, and I've been contacting different companies to see about replacing them. One salesperson I had in said he could put in a single furnace and I wouldn't know the difference. Is this true? How is it possible?
Well, these are really fun because a lot of times I actually don't know what the question is. And so that's a really, really great question, and I get asked that a lot of times when we're doing, in-home consultations for replacing furnaces. So, you get 2-story houses and they have 2 furnaces in them a lot of time if you are lucky, because it's awesome. Mm-hmm. But the question comes about, do I really need 2 furnaces in here? Can I just buy one because it's less expensive? And the answer is absolutely, you can definitely buy one. And the furnaces now are likely going to be big enough for sure that they can replace those 2. Now, sometimes it makes more sense and sometimes not, but here's the 2 ways that it can be done. The inexpensive, cheapest way that can be done is you take both furnaces out, you replace it with one furnace, and you choose which thermostat you're going to use. Because if you had 2, you have one thermostat upstairs on the 2nd floor and one on the main.
So just to stop you on that one.
Yeah.
So thermostats control, wherever the thermostat is, that's what controls the temperature of where it's going to be in that space.
That's right.
Okay,
that's
so
right.
if you have a thermostat by the front door,
yeah,
that would mean that when that door opens and closes, then it would be reflective of that.
Right, yeah, whatever the temperature is right by that thermostat.
Okay.
Right? And
so the temperature gauge.
Yeah, so if you have 2 thermostats and one's on the 2nd floor, and you're used to be able to control the temperature on the 2nd floor differently from the main floor, which is usually great to do, and all of a sudden now you have to choose one thermostat location because you've replaced the 2 furnaces with one. And so that's a cheap and dirty, and it's a really good solution for some houses. I've actually been in some houses where one thermostat location changing 2 furnaces has worked out better than the 2 by themselves, but that's not the norm. So the second way to do it is the more common way, and that is using the one furnace, but having mechanical dampers called a zoning system in place. So basically all that means is that you still have the same control from your 2 old thermostat locations. Instead of having a 2nd furnace, you have little dampers, and they open, where's the view? They open and close. And so those thermostats will control the airflow that goes through to those different areas of the house. So there's more complexity, there's less cost because you don't have to install the 2nd furnace. And there are some mechanical systems that I get asked that question for, and I look at it and I say, you know what, it's just not set up to really utilize that technology really well. Whereas other ones, I go into the system and it's like your furnaces are in the right location with all of the other ductwork in the right location, that at least it's a good viable option.
Okay,
now,
so why would somebody, so has this technology changed recently and that's why it's now an option for, why would they have not put in that system 20 years ago when these furnaces were put in with 2 furnaces?
Right, great question. So a lot of the systems are a lot older than that. Zoning is not as common. The first reason, it's not as good as 2 furnaces.
Okay, right? So you are compromising the experience of having
what you're compromising is the 2 furnaces that you have is always better than one, because when one breaks, which inevitably it will, 20, 30 years down the road, whatever, you have that other backup.
Okay.
Right? You also have better control with 2 furnaces in place than you do with one. You get better air filtration. There's certain benefits that are often the case with the 2 furnaces instead of the dampers. And the dampers, there's a lot of electronics and extra equipment working there, and it's less reliable than 2 furnaces would be.
So there's mechanics in it that could make it cause issues onto its own.
Right, you just have one more piece of electronic hardware to worry about. The less electronics you can have in the house and the less moving parts, typically the more reliable it is. And these days you're asking, why don't they install that 20 years ago? Well, still today, we typically don't see a lot of zoning in houses, but I can tell you there's a lot of houses, they have like 10 different zones in the house, because when you're building new, you can do that type of thing. But the more zones you have, the more electronic complexity, inevitably the more issues you have.
Okay. So the answer to this double trouble, is it true? Yes, it is true. You can change from 2 furnaces to 1 furnace, but there are some pros and cons to that process. The pro would be from 2 furnaces to 1 would be,
it costs less some of the time.
okay, and the cons to that?
The cons to that is that we live in northern Alberta. One furnace goes down, you have the other one, and you have ultimately better control and a more stable system.
So, and then the climate control in different zones would be more optimal with 2 furnaces. You usually have an upstairs and a main level furnace.
Yeah,
Is that usually how it works?
The zoning system does the same thing,
Okay.
but it is also compromised a little bit in terms of its full functionality, in terms of being as good as 2 furnaces.
So you have 2 furnaces down to 1 furnace, and you add the zone system. Is there a size of home where all of a sudden now that home is too large that's not even an option to go from a 2 furnace to a 1 furnace?
No, I've never seen one, because usually the furnaces that are coming out, the new ones are so much more efficient that'd be uncommon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so speaking about efficiency, that just tweaks to me about the idea about also the government rebates.
Oh, huge.
Yeah, so there's some options with that. We talked about that last week about the government rebates, and that is great. We're actually rolling out stuff on our Facebook page, and we'll be on our website that will outline the process for that. And we've been in contact with Efficiency Alberta and dealing with that process. It's working pretty well.
Yeah, and we're really working at simplifying that as much as we possibly can, because no matter how much we try to simplify it, it's still not the easiest thing to kind of get your head around or navigate, even for us.
Yeah, and it's nice we're in constant contact with individuals that can give us the line of information quickly. So that's really great.